Mela. Let's do question 3, which is budgeting. Here we are required to calculate the following. Using this information. I'm going to jump straight to question 1, which requires us to calculate discount allowed in November. Discount allowed is recorded as an expense. It is discount that we give to our credit customers when they make a payment. Instead of them paying us 100% of what they owe us, we allow them to pay less than that by giving them a discount. One of the reasons we do that is to encourage our debtors to pay their debts on time so that they can take advantage of this discount, meaning that it is there to minimize a higher percentage of bad debts. So that information, we are going to get it from sales. And more than anything, it'll be more from credit sales. And you'll notice that they said here 40% is collected in the month of sale. However, if a customer pays in the month of sale, in the month that they bought the goods, they will only pay us 95%. They won't pay us 100%. So meaning that the 5% is the discount. Since they said we need to calculate a discount allowed in November 2023, we need November credit sales. And if you watched the previous videos, you would have noticed that November credit sales amounted to 651,000. And to calculate what was collected in November, we took that 651,000, we multiplied it by 40%, which is what was collected in November. But then we multiplied it by 95 because whatever was collected, they only paid 90. That 651,000 represents what was owed to us. And it's just credit sales for November. And from those credit sales for November, we will expect to collect only 40%. And of the 40% that we collected, we won't get the full 40% because we have granted the debtor 5% discount. So we'll only get 95% of that 40%. Note that if 95% was collected, then it means the other 5% was the discount. And that discount is an expense. So to calculate the discount, you first find the 40% of credit sales, and only 5% of that 40% will be the discount. Hence, I said find credit sales for November, because those are the only sales that will attract or qualify for discount allowed. So 5% of the 40% collected of those credit sales will be the discount allowed. So you will take the credit sales multiplied by 40% to determine what was collected. And whatever was collected, which is the 40%, you will take it and times it by 5% to get your discount allowed, which is an expense of 13,020. Roman figure 2. We need to calculate interest on savings account in December 2023. For us to be able to calculate interest on savings account, you need to read this information. I'll go to F. The savings account will be increased by 84,000 Rand on the 1st of December 2023. Interest at 4% per annum is not capitalized and is receivable at the end of each month. The fact that they said it increased by, it makes things a bit difficult because it means that to calculate interest for December, we need to know what the savings balance was in November. And whatever we had as savings balance for November, we are going to add 84,000 to it to calculate interest for December. However, had they said it increased to, you see that word by, when you replace it to, it makes things easy because it means for you to calculate interest for December, you are going to take that 84,000 Rand and times it by 4% as it's given here. Let me read further. They said interest will be 4% per annum. Also pay attention to the word per annum. So whatever you multiply by that 4%, whatever answer you get will be per year because of that per annum. So if you want monthly interest rate, you will, or monthly interest amount, you will have to take whatever answer you get, multiply it by 1 month out of 12 months, multiply it by 1 divided by 12. Then they say interest is not capitalized and is receivable at the end of each month. Note that the question asks you to calculate interest on savings account for December. And from the information that I showed you, you will have realized that they didn't give us the statement of financial position. So there was no way we could have known what the balance was in December or even in November, because they only gave us the projected statement of comprehensive income and the cash budget. And when I looked at the cash budget, I realized that, oh, they gave us interest on savings for November. I can actually use that to calculate, well, how much was in our savings account in November. Because I have interest, right? I have interest rate and I also have the interest amount, which is that 1,200. Now, I'm going to ask myself, how did they get that 1,200? They took whatever savings amount they had in their savings account for November, they multiplied it by 4%, and then they multiplied it by 1 over 12. And then it gave them 1.2, meaning that interest in this savings account was 1.2. But whatever was in the savings account, we don't know how much it was, and that's what we are trying to solve. And for us to solve that, we are going to take that 1,200 divided by 4% times 1 over 12. Yeah, that 4%, that 4 is ugly. Now it looks better. Okay. And when you do that, it'll give you your savings account balance, which will be 360,000. But that 360,000 was the balance in November. We can't calculate the December interest on that amount because they told you on the 1st of December, that amount was increased by 84. So to get how much was in your savings account in December, at the beginning of December, you will take the 360,000 and then add the 84,000, it'll give you 444,000. And now to get your interest for December, you will take that 444,000, times it by 4%, and then times it by 1 over 12. It'll give you 1,480. The next question wants us to calculate payments to creditors in December. Note that to calculate payments to creditors in December, you need to know information about credit purchases. And then they say purchases of stock and payments to creditors. The markup percentage is 75% on cost. Okay, I can't use that until I read further. Stock is replaced in the month of sale. What they're saying there is that what was sold will be the same as what was bought, meaning that they keep a fixed stock base. When they tell you that they keep a fixed stock base, they're simply telling you that your cost of sales amount will be equal to your total purchases. Your cost of sales amount will be equal to your total purchase. And then they're saying to you, all purchases of stock are on credit, meaning that all these total purchases will have been on credit. Good. Then they say creditors are paid in full 2 months after purchase. Note that we want payments to creditors for December. So if people pay us if we pay our creditors in December, then when did we buy from them? Keep in mind, creditors are paid in full 2 months after purchase. It means that those purchases or credit purchases were made in October. So we need October credit purchases. But again, we were not given any information. They didn't even give us, we didn't have cash purchases because they said all purchases are on credit. So we can't even use that information. The only thing that they gave us for October is total sales. So remember, when you calculate cost of sales, it must be on total sales. What if I wasn't given total sales? If I was not given total sales, I was going to use my credit sales, which was given to me in the debtors collection schedule. So I was going to use my credit sales for October because they said credit sales are 60%, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, credit sales are 60%. I was going to take those credit sales, multiply them by 100 and divide them by 60 to get my total sales. And then after getting my total sales, but I'm doing this for October because those total sales, they will be equal to credit sales and they'll only be paid in December. I'm more interested of how much will be paid to creditors in December. That is why I'm only focusing on October total sales. I am going to take the October total sales, multiply them by 100 and divide them by 175 to get cost of sales. It's because I just told you right now, if they say we keep a fixed stock base, they're telling you that cost of sales will be the same as total purchases. And here your total purchases will amount to 610,000, which also is your total credit purchases. And this is what will be paid in December. Now we need to work out the rent expense for November. Here I have rent expense for December. That's the only thing that they gave me, which is that 31,640. But they want rent expense for November. Let me read and find out what can help. Oh, there is E. Rent expenses are expected to increase by 13% from the 1st of December. So it means this 31,640 that is given to us here for rent expense, it is already at 113% because it increased by 13%. That value will be at 113%. To get the November rent, to get the December rent, we will normally take the November rent multiplied by 113 divided by 100. If I want the November rent, I'll just divide both sides by that 113 divided by 100, which will be the same as multiplying the right-hand side by 100 and divided by 113. It's just like cost of sales. So I would have just said rent for November was at 100%. So I want rent for November. Rent for December is at 113, and that was given to us. So multiply by what you want, which is the 100, and divide by what you have, which is the 113. And then you will get your November rent, which will be 28,000 rand. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification button and let everybody know about this cool channel. In the next lesson, we will be doing question 3, still budgeting, but we'll be focusing more on 3.4. And here are the questions for 3.4. That will be the last question for question 3. Thank you again for watching. Kgotsong.